Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Benji-Sales live chat. It's so good to be back. It's so good to see everybody. How are you doing today? I hope you are all doing fantastic. It is so good to be back, guys. Not a crazy news week outside of Summer Game Fest this week. We got a few little tidbits of information and stuff. We got a sales milestone update for Resident Evil Village. That is now past 8 million units, so 8 million for Resident Evil 8. A few other news stories, but nothing too crazy to be honest with you. It's mostly Summer Game Fest that went down this week. That was a pretty decent show. I'm sure you guys have some opinions on it. I don't think it was necessarily a home run, but there was some cool stuff in it as well. Probably the main highlights, the things that really stood out in the showcase, in my opinion, were the Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay. I thought that looked very, very, very good. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth getting a new trailer with an early 2024 release date confirmed. And obviously the biggest news story probably was that Spider-Man 2 finally has a release date, October 20th of this year. So it does make that fall window that they kept saying. There was some rumblings that it was going to be September. Looks like it's going to be October. I'm going to be honest, I'm glad that it's October, considering how packed September already is. We already have multiple huge games launching in September, so I'm pretty glad that that's not releasing then, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was a pretty decent show. I would say it was one of those shows that if the couple highlights didn't stand out to you, that you might not have liked this show at all, because there wasn't a ton of big reveals, right? There was a few little big things in there, but it was one of those that I feel like if you weren't into Mortal Kombat, if you weren't into Final Fantasy or Spider-Man, this show might have been a huge miss for you, because it was really about a few select big titles in terms of if you would have been excited about the showcase or not. But we can talk about that. We can talk about anything that you guys want. The way this stream works, it's a show. It's 100% driven by you. Your comments, your questions, you just drop them down into chat, and we talk about the latest news in the video game industry. There's going to be a few ways to do that. First of all, of course, there's the free method. You just type a question, whatever you want, it pops into chat, and I get to as many free questions as I possibly can. If you want to guarantee that I get to your question, there's going to be two ways to do that. First of all, there is the super chat option. Type a donation of whatever you want. It alerts me, and I get to super chats immediately. The other way to do it is going to be by becoming a channel member. Channel memberships are $4.99 for a month. And basically the benefit for you is that I guarantee that every single channel member will get at least one question or comment addressed on the show today. We're probably going to go for about an hour and a half today. Just depends on what turnout is like, how much the questions are in there. I'm going to kick things off first with a poll, and then I'm going to start diving into your comments and questions. We don't got to do a whole bunch of breaking news stories off the top, because like I said, there wasn't really all that much this week outside of Summer Game Fest, so we're just going to go straight into your guys' comments and questions. But let's get a poll going first, and I'm just going to ask, how would you grade Summer Game Fest? And we're going to do the same thing we did for the PlayStation Showcase, just an A, B, C, or D. And I'll let you guys know my grade right off the top. For me, it was the exact same as I gave the PlayStation Showcase. It's a C for me. I can't go A or B, even though there was a couple things there that I thought looked really good. I'm not going like D or lower, because like I said, Mortal Kombat 1, very, very much liked. Really liked the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer. Getting a Spider-Man release date was pretty cool. And there was a few other things. Oh, Sonic Superstars. Can't forget about that. That's blowing up on social media, and I think it looks pretty good. So there was definitely some stuff there I liked. I'm not going to go D or lower, but again, I can see if some people vote that, because it was really a handful of big announcements, and it just depends how you feel about those. But for me, it's a C. So I'm going to drop that down into chat and let me know your guys' score. And let's just get rocking. We have no super chats off the top. So first, I'm going to really quick go to member questions, and then I'll start hitting the freebies. Joseki here with the first member question. Thanks for being a channel member, Joseki. Really appreciate that, man. Hi, Benji. What is up? Hope you're doing fine. Someone who isn't having a good day is probably the marketing team at Atlas and Microsoft. Presumably the biggest Game Pass games spoiled in advance. Yeah, so I won't go super into detail here, but I'm sure a lot of people know. It's probably all over the chat. I didn't cover it on my Twitter because I felt bad about it. Like, I don't cover a ton of leaks, if you guys notice, on my Twitter, because I kind of just feel bad for the devs and for like the publishers involved and stuff when this sort of thing happens. I don't have any issues with other people covering it. It's just I kind of usually stay away from leaks. But yeah, let's just say some big Atlas announcements leaked. We've all known for a while that at least one of these games was coming. But it was like the full-on trailer, everything leaked. The funny thing is it wasn't like some random person coming in and leaking it all. It was their own fault. It was Atlas's Instagram account, from what I understand. Like, Atlas themselves accidentally posted on Instagram the full trailers, everything, like release dates, whole spiel. So yeah, someone lost their job. I can probably guarantee whoever's the social media person at Atlas, whose job that was, it may be gone now. And I'll feel bad if so, but that's a big mess up, man. That's pretty crazy. And Joseki also says, my question this week is about Final Fantasy. With the report of stagnating Final Fantasy VII, let me make sure my mic's good. Yeah, I don't have the other video open, so there should be no double thing. Good. We're all good. We're all good. Anyways, back to Joseki. I just wanted to make sure my audio was on point. My question this week is about Final Fantasy. With the report of stagnating Final Fantasy VII Remake sales and Final Fantasy XVI pre-orders under Square Enix's projections, how do you rate the state of the Final Fantasy brand? Personally, I'm not sure how I'd rate it. SIE clearly thinks it's a big asset to PlayStation, but overall it doesn't really feel like the series had a really massive success since the PS2 days. Is it really the premier JRPG franchise anymore? Personally, I think Square Enix messed up by signing the super long exclusivity deals. I agree with you. That's what I'm about to go into. On consoles and Epic Game Store, Nier Automata, Dragon Quest XI, and Persona 5 all sold more than 7 remake. Thoughts? Okay, so I actually kind of agree with you. I kind of think that Square Enix is messing up by making this exclusive. And I have a couple things here. First of all, how would I rate the Final Fantasy brand? I would say that I rate it still as a successful brand. 7 Remake had massive launch sales. Now, we haven't gotten any updates on 7 Remake in a long time, so it's hard to really know where it's at lifetime. But I would say the fact we haven't gotten any sales updates since launch is a little questionable. However, its launch was massive. I think Square Enix might be starting to do real damage to the Final Fantasy brand with this exclusivity deal, though. And some people are going to counter that, and they're going to say, well, Benji, Final Fantasy doesn't sell that much on Xbox anyways. And I would agree with that, right? The bulk of sales are going to be on PlayStation no matter what. However, here's the deal. If you get on Xbox, you at least have the chance to get the Game Pass bag, right? There's the chance that Microsoft, put it this way, do you think all these Atlas games are suddenly coming to Xbox and to Game Pass just out of the goodness of Atlas's heart? No, these are all coming to Game Pass because Phil Spencer's writing Atlas checks to get these games to launch on Game Pass. Now, here's the thing, that's going to help brand awareness just in general. Of course, the vast bulk of sales are going to be on PlayStation. However, Final Fantasy 16 not even having a PC version at launch, again, is a bit of an issue whenever that could probably sell a ton on PC. It's going to come on PC, but it's going to be way later. Same thing with Epic Game Store, right? These games are launching on Epic Game Store first, and then they're taking forever to come over to Steam. By then, how much momentum do you lose? My response would be, I would hope, if you're Square Enix, that PlayStation and Epic are giving you gargantuan checks. Because if they're not, I think they're starting to make some mistakes here in terms of really narrowing the scope of brand visibility. PlayStation has a huge install base. It's not like they have no one to sell to. They have a ton. So it's not like I'm saying it's the end of the world. These games are still selling millions of units. I still think Final Fantasy 16 is going to sell millions of units. I think it's going to be pretty successful in the West. The worry right now for 16, and where I feel that Square Enix is probably starting to feel worried, is Japan. It looks like that this is going to just let's be frank, not do that well in Japan, particularly at launch. West, I'm still pretty bullish on how 16 is going to perform. Japan right now isn't looking good. It's looking like it's going to be way smaller than 15 and way smaller than 7 Remake. So in my opinion, 16's got to get tremendous reviews, tremendous word of mouth, and hopefully that will carry it. So I'm not doom and gloom on the Final Fantasy brand at all. I would say from a quality standpoint, I think the Final Fantasy brand's in an amazing place. 16 looks absolutely fantastic to me. 7 Remake is literally one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. That's not an exaggeration. Like 7 Remake in the entire history of JRPGs I'd played. I'm not saying it's number one, but it's one of the best I've ever played. I loved that first game, 7 Remake. So from a quality standpoint, super good. From a sales standpoint, not bad. I wouldn't say it's in a bad place. I would say, though, that as this drags on and continues and we're seeing just more and more of this, not just the PlayStation exclusivity. I think that there is a wrinkle there of a bit of an issue, but also, as you mentioned, the Epic Game Store thing, taking forever to come to Steam. 16's not even having a PC version for who knows how long. They've said they're going to work on it, but they said don't expect it anytime soon. Nowadays, if you have big, giant, expensive AAA games, they basically need to be everywhere. That's for anyone, not just Square Enix. That's for EA. That's for Activision. That's for all of them. There's a reason you don't see many AAA third-party exclusives anymore, right? You'll see a lot of like them in that AA space, a lot of them in that indie space, but these big, giant, hundreds of millions of dollar games, once you factor in marketing and stuff, nowadays, you kind of have to be everywhere. So my response would be, in terms of like sales thing, if you're Square Enix, my hope for you, if you're going to keep doing this strategy, is that Sony and Epic are just paying you fortunes of cash. Because otherwise, I don't think it's worth the trade-off. Hopefully, if you're in that business position, Sony's just writing you unbelievable checks, and so's Epic. Because otherwise, I do think it's a mistake. If this is just a bit of like extra cash and it's not that much money, I would say you guys should stop doing this, because even if you don't sell a lot of copies on Xbox, I guarantee you Phil Spencer's going to throw you a Game Pass bag. So you're still going to be able to sell the same amount of units. Like, here's the thing. Does 16 being exclusive on PlayStation mean it's going to sell more than it would have if it was multi-platform? No. In my opinion, no. 16 sells the exact same amount, whether it's exclusive on PlayStation or whether it's on PlayStation and Xbox. Like, the actual PlayStation sales, to me, are identical. I don't think anything changes there. Sony would still have the marketing deal. And Final Fantasy fans are Final Fantasy fans. So essentially, all you're doing right now is cutting out the potential Game Pass bag, plus whatever the potential launch sales of PC would be if you're on Steam. If you're going to ignore all of that potential money, then you better be making it back up in massive ways from Sony and Epic. So I don't know. I don't know those financials. None of us do. None of us know how much Sony paid them. If Sony literally paid for 16's entire budget, well then, okay. If I was Square Enix, I'd do the same thing too. If Sony's like, hey, Square Enix, here's $100 million to make 16 and 7 Remake or whatever exclusive, I'd be like, okay, I would take that deal in a heartbeat as well. So it really just comes down to how much they're being paid. But it better be a lot. Sony better be getting a lot to Square Enix. Okay, let's see some more member questions. Hamish Lee Ford here. What is up, Hamish? Hello, Benji. Hope you're doing great. Why do people always expect Jeff to deliver some never-before-seen show? I'm going to be honest, dude. Almost never delivered so far in my eyes. Well, for me, it's hit or miss. There's times I really like Jeff shows, and there's times that I don't. I thought the Game Awards last year was excellent. Wasn't that the one that had Death Stranding 2 there, right? It was Death Stranding 2... and there was a couple other big games. I loved that show. I thought the last Game Awards, if I'm remembering right, I'm pretty sure that was the one with Death Stranding 2 and a couple other things. I thought it was great. But then there's times where I've felt his shows definitely do not deliver. There was a Gamescom one year, I think, that I thought was, I'm just going to be honest, really bad. I'm not saying it was last Gamescom. I think it was the one that ended on Mass Effect, the new Mass Effect announcement. That was an amazing announcement, but before that, I was like pretty underwhelmed. So for the Jeff shows, to me, they're real hit or miss. I would say the ones that to me are consistently the best that he does is the Game Awards. Now, the Game Awards, again, there's some years that are better than others, but most of the time I like his Game Award shows. To me, it's these extra ones he's doing, Gamescom, now this summer Game Fest, where a little more hit or miss to me. So, but I mean, your guys' scores are pretty good right now. Like right now, I'm asking how you guys would grade this. The highest one's a B at 49%. So it's like, you know, pretty decent response. The second is at 39%, a C, which is still passing, right? It's not a high score, but you know, you made it by your C. 7% give this an A. Only 6% give it a D or lower. So it's like, you know, Jeff's shows, I would say people sometimes overhype themselves for them, thinking these are just going to be incredible. But he's still delivering like a solid enough quality, like overall, that I think people will still tune in. They'll still watch the shows. And every once in a while, you'll get one that like blows you away, right? Like there was the one year where he had the Xbox Series X announcement. A brand new console was announced at the Game Awards, plus Hellblade 2 alongside of it. Like, you know, every once in a while, he'll get those like crazy, wow, what an incredible reveal. But just don't go in always expecting that from the Jeff shows, which is like what you said, right? You're saying just, you know, why do people always expect them to be crazy? So you kind of just have to temper your expectations going into these most of the time. All right, where are we at? I think we had a super chat come in. We did. Spagdretti here with a 2 super chat. Thank you so much, Spagdretti. Really appreciate that. I'm so hyped for Sonic Superstars. What about you? I think it looks pretty great. And if you want to hear something crazy, guys, listen to the social metrics on this. Guys, a Sonic game, right? A Sonic game. Which I know Sonic, to all of us, seems like such a huge character because he's been around for so long and all of this. But if we're going to be honest, most Sonic games are not massive sellers. Now, there's been a few that have done really, really well. Sonic Frontiers is doing excellent, right? The new 3D Sonic that came out. There's, like, Sonic definitely sometimes has some hits. The movies have done pretty darn well. But it's not like one of these things where it's like Sonic just always sells 10 million units per game. Like, not even anywhere near that, right? Most games aren't even getting anywhere near that for Sonic. However, this announcement, guys, on Twitter, dude, it has over 100,000 likes. That is incredible engagement by Twitter standards. By Twitter standards for games, over 100,000 likes on the announcement tweet on the Sonic account. That is massive, massive. People clearly are pretty excited by this. So, Spagdretti, I think it looks good. I'm going to be honest. I think it looks good. I think the art style is really, really nice. Going back to like that 2D look, but with a like 2D play style, but with like a more modernized look. I think it looks really, really good. Spagdretti, I'm hyped for it as well. You know, Sonic Frontiers was the first Sonic game I have ever beaten in my life. I know that sounds crazy. I've played Sonic games before this, not many, but I played like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 way back in the day on my uncle's Sega Genesis. Never finished it though. Frontiers was the first Sonic game I played front to back, and Superstars looks great. I'm with you, Spagdretti. Think it's looking good. Think it's looking good, and the social metrics are awesome for it. Awesome. Where are we at on the member questions? MD, what is up, MD? Thank you for being a channel member, man. Benji, your thoughts on all the recent leaks that confirmed what we already knew, that you're the GOAT. MD always has every single stream an incredibly kind comment. That means so much to me, man. I appreciate it as always. Every single chat, man. MD, you do not miss on raising my spirits. I'll tell you what, today I'm actually doing pretty good. That last live stream we did, I always watch my live streams back once per stream. Like I'll wait a day or two and then I'll rewatch my stream just one time through, because I always want to catch like, you know, what I can improve, what I said that I didn't even realize I said. I talked about this with you guys before. Anyone that's gone live, like whether you're streaming games while you're playing, whether you have some sort of live show, whether you're reporting news, whatever, sometimes how you think things are coming out and what you're saying aren't actually the way they come across when you're watching them, or you'll misspeak and not even realize you misspoke until you rewatch it and you're like, oh wow, why did I say like that? I said the game wrong. I said the wrong game. So I always try and watch them back once just to see where I can improve and what I messed up on. And I noticed last stream, like while I was streaming, you guys know I've been like in a mental health disaster really since February, and that's still continued till now, up and down, but like I'm still in a rough spot. And I was rewatching that stream last week, and I knew while I was doing it, my anxiety was through the roof. I was trying to hold it together so I could make it through the stream, and I was talking so fast. And I was like, wow, Benji, you could tell my friend that your anxiety was to the max, because I started watching it, and I was just like, blah, 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 and that was the anxiety. I just had a ton of anxiety. So thank you, MD. I'm still, doing my best to make it through these battles, and I'm having my good days and my bad days, but today's a good day. I feel very, very good today. And thanks for being a channel member, man. Ken B here with a channel member question. Thank you so much for being a member, Ken B. Hey, Benji, I know you like to stay positive, so here's my request. Oh, God. Say something good about that Twisted Metal clip. I can't do it, Ken. I like to lean on the positive, but I also like to be honest. I mentioned that on a stream one time that like I think there's a risk of whenever you're just always positive that you can come across as disingenuous, and can people really believe you when you say something? If just you're always being positive about everything, then it kind of just feels like, I don't know if I believe you. I like to try to lean positive because I love games, right? I love the video game industry, and something I love, I'm going to always want to be more positive about it than negative. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of people in the gaming sphere that are just constantly negative, and I ask myself, do you really like video games? You know what I mean? If you're just constantly negative, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube, whatever, do you actually like this stuff? Like, if you're constantly negative, I'm not saying you can't be negative, because I'm about to be negative right now. I'm saying if that's like 90% of your coverage, I question how much you actually like the thing. But that Twisted Metal clip, it was just bad, man. It was just bad. It was just terrible. And I feel bad saying that because I really like Anthony Mackie. I think Anthony Mackie's a great actor. I think that Twisted Metal's an interesting IP. I was surprised that that's the one they were going with. But I thought personally it was almost unwatchable, that clip. And that's really disappointing considering that the last PlayStation Productions thing that we got, The Last of Us, I thought was utterly incredible. I literally rate that season 1 as a 10 out of 10. So to go from that to what, I'm gonna be honest, there was times I almost kind of had to look away from what was happening on the screen because it was that bad. It was so bad. Yeah, really disappointing to see. Who knows? Maybe the show will somehow be better, way better than that clip. But I would say it's a little alarming that the first clip that you get from Twisted Metal, a IP about car combat, had 0 car in it. Not to mention all of the other stuff, right? You had all the other just issues with it. And then it didn't even show the thing that should be the selling point. Yeah, I mean, it looks horrible. And I feel really bad saying that. I apologize, in the very minute, slimmest of the chances anyone ever sees this video that was involved with that show in any way. I apologize, but it just does not look like it came together at all. Blazing Flame here with a member question. Thank you so much, Blazing Flame. Do you think if PlayStation Live Service games are successful, PlayStation will shift focus from single-player games to multiplayer live service? If so, what's the percentage do you see live service versus single-player? Blazing Flame, thanks for being a channel member. A lot of PlayStation fans are pretty worried about this. My thing is I wouldn't still be super concerned about them just dropping single player, the big games they're known for, because I keep saying I think a lot of these live service are going to fail. I'm just being honest. I think a lot of these PlayStation service games aren't going to do well. There's going to be some that absolutely do. So, don't take that as me being doom and gloom about all of them. I keep saying I think Marathon's going to be a huge hit, and Sony owns Bungie now. I would have thought that the Last of Us multiplayer game would be a big hit, but, now we have these questionable things coming out about it. Concord, we haven't even seen the game at all yet, so who knows? Haven's game, we haven't even actually seen the actual game yet at all, so who knows? So there's going to be definitely some successes. Like, Sony's going, in my opinion, to get some hits out of this. At the same time, I think they're going to have some that utterly crash and burn, because the service space is just so utterly competitive. You know, I went over this in my last chat. I've gone over this a ton of times. The multiplayer live service competition to me is much fiercer than single player. That doesn't mean that single player games automatically are more financially successful, because if you can manage to get a massive service hit, the amount of money you're going to get from it is absolutely incredible. So I get why publishers go for it, but I'm just saying, like, pure competition, I think it is way harder to get people to long-term play your service game than it is to get people to buy a single-player game right now. I just do. I think Fortnite is that powerful. Apex is that powerful. Destiny is that powerful. You know, we could just go down the list of the big giant service games. Call of Duty Warzone and all this. It's hard. It's a hard sell to get someone to stick with your game for 6, 8, 12 months. So we'll see. I wouldn't be that panicked about it if you're a PlayStation fan, though, because I don't think that Sony's just going to get tons of live service successes. I don't. I think they might get 1 or 2 or maybe 3 or something, but I don't think they're going to have like 10 or 15 just live service games pumping out money. I really don't. I think some of these are going to completely fail. Ladays here with a member question. Thank you so much, Ladays. Has the Street Fighter 6 player count and sales changed your mind about Mortal Kombat 1 definitely outselling it? No, because as solid as Street Fighter 6 is doing, and by the way, I am loving it. I literally, right before my stream started, I was playing Street Fighter 6. Guys, this is a great game in my opinion. I see why the reviews are so high. I'm a casual fighting game fan, and I'm having an absolute blast with it. I would say even if you only like single player, guys, I think this game's worth picking up. The World Tour mode is really, really fun. It's like a fusion of almost like Yakuza, like the Yakuza games. And I know that sounds weird because the gameplay is not really like it, but I just kind of get that feel when I'm playing it, the way that like the city feels and stuff. It really gives me Yakuza vibes. It almost mixed with like old school beat 'em up. It's fun, man. The World Tour mode is really, really fun. Plus it has like the arcade ladder on there for the characters. Like, even if you only like single player, I still think Street Fighter 6 is worth picking up. Obviously, if you like going online, then it's even better because you get the best of both worlds. But it's excellent. Street Fighter 6 is just so, so good. But that said, you know, it's sold 1 million already, which is really strong for Street Fighter. Mortal Kombat 1, dude, the tracking on it is just ridiculous. I'm going to send out a tweet here soon about the 24-hour view count for the Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay, and it's just astronomical. Like, dude, Mortal Kombat is tracking stupidly huge. So, no, I still think Mortal Kombat 1 absolutely outsells Street Fighter 6, but that doesn't mean that I think Street Fighter 6 isn't going to do very, very well. I do. It already did 1 million in just a few days, which for a fighting game is good. You know, fighters have, we've talked about it a lot, a pretty steep barrier of entry. It's a pretty hardcore genre, you know what I mean? Like, it's very intimidating if you're a casual to play a fighting game. So I think as word of mouth continues to be super high for Street Fighter, as they continue to keep it super engaged in marketing with new characters, and I won't even be surprised, guys, if they do single player expansions on this game. World Tour totally feels like you could add on to it. Yeah, I think legs will be great. So Street Fighter 6 is going to do super, super good. I'm very confident in that. But Mortal Kombat 1, the tracking is just giga enormous. Giga enormous. Dude here, member just saying, hey, Benji-Sales, what is up, dude? And I think we had a super chat come in. Oh, wow, we had a couple super chats come in. For some reason, the alerts today are not doing good for super chats. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it's not doing a very good job of alerting me. So I apologize. We had 3 super chats come in, though. Second Coming with a $1.99 super chat. What's your hype level for Xbox plus Starfield Showcase? I'm going to go as high as a 10. And maybe that's dangerous. Maybe it's dangerous to be 10 out of 10 hyped for a showcase because it's very easy to be disappointed. But I just feel like this is going to be a good one. But I was also confident in that PlayStation Showcase. And to me, that PlayStation Showcase was really underwhelming. There was some stuff there I liked, but overall, I thought it was pretty underwhelming. But But I'm very excited for the Xbox Showcase. I don't know. I just get this feeling. The stuff that Aaron Greenberg said also reinforced my excitement. And I know people are going to be like, people like to be tough on Aaron Greenberg. But his job is marketing, so whenever he comes out and he's super positive about the brand and, he's trying to get everyone hyped up, that's just Aaron doing his job, guys. Like, literally his job is marketing. So don't get me wrong, I get why people would be cautious to believe that because, hey, the response is, yeah, Benji, that's his job. How do I believe him? Again, I get why, people would be like, just because Aaron's hyped doesn't mean I'm going to be. His job is to market the brand. But I'm saying outside of the marketing, like the actual things he said, where he was like, nothing here is going to be CG only. That's been a big complaint of some of these Xbox shows in the past where we've talked about in this chat, things like Fable, we've never seen it again besides the CG teaser. The Outer Worlds 2, we've never seen it again besides the CG teaser. Perfect Dark, we've never seen it again besides the CG teaser. Avowed, we've never seen it again. State of Decay 3, like look at how many games have been CG only at Xbox. Him saying, he didn't say there will be no CG, but what he said is that none of the first-party games will only be CG. So even if there's some sort of like CG teaser attached to it, it's also going to show gameplay or in-engine footage. That is very encouraging to hear. I like that it's a nice long show. It sounds like the main show is about an hour and a half with a 30-minute Starfield direct attached to it. That's a long time to show a lot of big stuff. There's a lot of Xbox teams that we've never seen anything for besides these CG teases. I feel good about it. Do I think it's going to be the best Xbox showcase ever made? I have no idea. But I would say I feel very, very good about it. But again, to caution myself, I felt very, very good about the PlayStation show. And that didn't deliver to me. So we'll see. But right now I'm very excited. Very excited. Highlander001. Here, let's do a poll on that. We'll do a poll. This will be a fun poll. We'll do, out of the summer showcases, will Xbox have the best one? This is just a prediction, right? We don't know. None of us know. But out of the big summer showcases we've had, whether it was Summer Game Fest, which just happened, whether it was that PlayStation showcase that just happened, we know Capcom's got a small one coming up, but still something. Ubisoft Forward's coming up. So, just do you think Xbox is going to have the best one so far? We'll say, yes. They'll deliver. We'll say, I don't want to do a maybe because it's like the real answer is maybe because none of us know. But this is just for fun. This isn't like a scientific poll. It's a fun poll. So we'll say yes, they'll deliver. And we'll say no, someone else will be better. It's just a fun one. Will Xbox have the best showcase? I'm leaning towards yes. I think they're going to. But we'll see. It's hard to say, but right now I'm feeling like they're going to probably have the best of the summer shows. Just because the bar's not very high. I didn't think Summer Game Fest was a home run. It was okay. And I didn't think that the PlayStation Showcase was a home run. Again, thought it was okay, but we'll see. Highlander here with a 2 super chat. Hey, Benji, hope you're doing good, looking good. Well, I appreciate that. I'll be honest with you. I haven't worked out in a month, which I don't love, okay? You guys know I like to work out. I like to lift weights, but my mental health has been such a freaking disaster that the last month I didn't work out at all. Now, the good news is I gained 0 weight, so I was able to keep myself in healthy shape. That's always the worry when you fall off for a while. I didn't weigh myself for like weeks. And I was like, man, I haven't worked out in a month. I haven't been tracking my weight at all. I was like, when I got on that scale, I was a little worried. I was like, we're going to see how this plays out. Didn't gain any weight at all, right? I was literally right where I was a month ago. So I've done a very good job of maintaining, I would say. But I need to get back on track. So I appreciate that you think I'm looking good. But I could be doing better. I need to get back into my workout rotation. I really didn't want to fall off like that, but this mental health battle, man, it's been a very tough year for me. 2023 has been tough. What's weird is it's been harder for me than any of the pandemic years, which should be surprising, right? You would think that like 2020 and 21 and 22, like those would have been so tough, and they were. There was times that were tough in there, but this has actually been worse for my mental health than the pandemic was. It's been the hardest mental health battle I've had in, I know the last time it was this bad, and it was like almost 7 years ago now. Benji here with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. Great to see you, man. Hi, Benji. I wish good recovery with the anxiety. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Benji. Just talking about that. I really appreciate that, man. Here's something to get a nice smoothie or large, generous coffee. Well, Benji, that is incredibly kind. Incredibly kind. I love coffee. So, hey, that super chat, I will specifically, because, that's what you said, a nice smoothie or large coffee, that's going to a nice, big Starbucks coffee. I love coffee. I love it, love it, love it. So, Benji, I appreciate that, man. I'll get a Starbucks from you. Marcos V here with a super chat. Benji, please ask Square to give me a Final Fantasy 16 beta already. Well, Marcos, first of all, thank you for the super chat. I unfortunately don't have many contacts at Square Enix. There's some companies that I know people there. I could shoot them a DM right now. Insomniac, just to name one, I could shoot a message to someone at Insomniac and have a reply probably within 24 hours. There's other companies like that too that Xbox. I have a lot of just people that I know at Xbox that are super cool. But Square Enix is not one of them. I'm trying to think if I know anyone at Square Enix. I don't think so. Not like on a personal level. Like I have Square Enix people that follow me on Twitter, a few, but I don't really know anybody there. So I'm sorry, Marcos. I can't tell you when the demo's coming. It's soon though, right? Didn't they say it would launch shortly before the game? I don't think they've announced a date yet, but Marcos, it should be soon. That game's coming out here in just a couple weeks. So Marcos, you should be getting your Final Fantasy 16 demo very, very soon. Just keep your fingers crossed. Anytime now. Highlander here with a 2 months. Highlander has become a channel member for 2 months. Thank you so much, Highlander. I really, really appreciate that, man. And here is his monthly member question that he gets, basically once you hit a new milestone for your renewal outside of the channel member stuff. I guarantee YouTube itself has it set up that you get a message. Here is Highlanders. Thank you so much, man, for being a channel member for 2 months. It looks like Microsoft's show may be better than Sony's and the Summer Game Fest. I agree. I think it's looking like it. I get my ROG Ally Tuesday hype, Highlander. My B-Day gift from the wife along with the X-Mobile 4090. Well, that's sick, dude. Let us know how the ROG Ally is. Whenever you get it, when you get a chance to play it, you're always in these chats, Highlander. Come back in once you've gotten some time with it and let us know, because I'm super curious to hear your feedback, man. ROG Ally looks awesome. Looks very, very cool. So, sweet birthday gift. Shout out to your wife. Sounds like you have an amazing wife, Highlander, and I agree with you. I think right now, unless Xbox drops the ball, they would have to, in my opinion, fumble the bag hard. Not that I thought Sony's show was terrible, and not that I thought the Summer Game Fest show was terrible. I don't think that about either one of them, but neither were a home run. So it's to me, if Xbox doesn't have the best show this summer, they fumbled the bag, because they've never been set up better to just totally deliver, right? Most years, Sony has a pretty amazing showcase. There's a few times they don't, but most of the time, Sony's got a great show. Most of the time, Nintendo's got an awesome June Direct, and right now it looks like there's not going to be one. There's some rumblings that they're going to do either an indie Direct in July or a partner Direct in July, but it sounds like it's not going to be the big, huge Nintendo Summer Direct that we normally get. So right now, man, Xbox is primed. They're primed to have the best show. So if they don't, in my opinion, they fumbled the bag. Benji with a 5 super chat. Thank you so much, Benji. That's your second one. Benji, impressive Switch sales in Europe. Xbox Series sales were in decline. Yeah, they're in a bad spot. It seems third-party sales don't boost Xbox sales, unlike the PS5. Why? These are some great questions. So first of all, back to, this big debate that me and Phil had online, at least, about what his opinions were about first-party moving consoles and what my opinion is about first-party moving consoles. Guys, look at what Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has done for Switch sales. They have utterly exploded since Tears of the Kingdom has come out, and that's for an ancient console at this point by console life cycles, right? I know it's not ancient in terms of this thing's 20 years old. I'm saying within a generation. Like, this is like a dinosaur, right? It's at the end of its life cycle compared to most consoles. Most consoles are in big declines right now in their cycle. And yet Switch, Tears of the Kingdom comes out, and look at how much hardware it's pushing. Tons of it. I still stand by what I've said. If Starfield is a Zelda level experience, and again, I know the IPs aren't the same level. I'm not saying it needs a review as high as Zelda. I'm saying if it's a big, huge first-party game that's extremely high quality, if this thing somehow comes in at a 90 or 91 Metacritic, or even an 89 Metacritic, I am telling Xbox right now, if anyone from Xbox sees this stream, I'm telling you, Starfield's going to push consoles for you guys. So Xbox is still declining. They're still in a very rough hardware spot right now. They have been really since the second half of 2022. The second half of 2022 all the way through the first half of 2023, Xbox Series hardware has just had a ton of issues in sales. And guys, it ain't a coincidence. What also happened in that time frame? No big first-party games that were super high reviewed. So now is the time. They need Starfield to deliver and be awesome. They need Forza Motorsport to deliver and be awesome. They need Hellblade 2, which sounds like it's not that far away, to deliver and be awesome. Now is the time, Xbox. You guys got to deliver. If you guys start delivering these first-party games, again, I'm telling you, Xbox leadership, you're going to sell consoles. I'm telling you. So yeah, incredible for the Switch. Tears of the Kingdom has had a massive hardware impact, a bigger hardware impact even than I expected. And they're killing it. Now, why is it that Sony's getting a bigger boost from third-party sales than Xbox? I think that's a two-pronged thing. First of all, keep in mind, Sony's had the marketing deal for a lot of these, right? They had the marketing rights for Hogwarts Legacy, so that just became associated with PlayStation. A ton of them, right? A lot of the Resident Evil 4 remake, they had PlayStation marketing, if I'm remembering correctly. Again, getting associated with that console. So first of all, you have that. You have Sony signing all of these big third-party marketing deals. So that kind of just automatically in the casual's mind associates that game with the brand. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it is that PlayStation in many of these markets like Europe, it's just a stronger brand anyways than Xbox. So if you're someone that's interested in gaming and you already are just naturally more interested than PlayStation than Xbox, when a big third-party game comes out and it's one you want and you don't have a next-gen console yet, you're just going to go to that PlayStation because that's the one you're more attached to brand-wise. So that automatically the third-party games just help PlayStation more than Xbox. I'd say that's less of the case in the United States and North America, where Xbox is much, much stronger, comparatively than it is in Europe. But in markets like Europe, where PlayStation just has a way bigger brand identity than Xbox does, it's going to naturally get a better lift from these third-party games than Xbox. So Xbox, needs to do some stuff to change that mindset. They need to get these big first-party games out, and they need to be great. They need to sign some big marketing deals on third-party games, in my opinion. I think it was a missed opportunity to not be marketing Jedi Survivor. I think they should have done that like they did for Fallen Order. So we'll see. We'll see, Benji. But that's a few things, in my opinion. All right, Super Chats are cleared. Let me make sure that every member's had at least one question answered, and I can get to some just regular questions. I think every member has had at least one member question answered. Nope, here's one. Perfect Shogun. Question, what are you looking forward / hoping to see at the Xbox show? The obvious ones are Starfield. I love Bethesda's big RPGs, right? Fallout 3, love it. Fallout 4, love it. Skyrim, love it. Oblivion, love it. Like, I just love those Bethesda Game Studios big giant open world RPGs. I love them. So Starfield is obviously, and you guys know if you follow me at all that I love like space and astronomy and all that sort of stuff. So it's like the best of both worlds. You have space that I love, sci-fi that I love, and you combine that with Bethesda that I love, it's like, it's a match made in heaven. So that's an obvious one. Hellblade 2 is another obvious one. Hellblade 2 has to be here. If it's not, I would say it's very worrying, because I would think Hellblade 2 is close to release. So if it's not here, to me, that means it's further away than we all think it is, which we go back to just how long are these dev cycles going to be for Xbox games. But I'm assuming it's going to be there, so I'm very excited for that. I loved the first Hellblade game. I have a feeling Hellblade 2 is going to be incredible and something that the Xbox brand just hasn't really had. You know, there hasn't been those big cinematic third-person narrative-driven games, and that's one critique that people have of Xbox a lot. And one thing I don't agree with is that Xbox needs to just follow Sony's stance and just make tons of these sort of games, right? You need to differentiate the brand. You got to do some stuff to make your first party look different than someone else's first party. But I also think it's a fair criticism to say you don't need to have all your games be like this, but you do need a few, right? It's just a genre you're ignoring, right? They just don't have many of these, like for the last 10 or 15 years, they don't have many of these really cinematic third-person games. This gives them something in that portfolio in that range, which is good. Like I said, a good first party, you want a lot of variety. That means you do need some of these sort of games. Not all of them. You don't want to just copy Sony, but you want to have some games like this. So I think it's really good for the brand to have a game like that. I have a feeling it's going to be amazing. So those are the obvious ones. Like, I'd be shocked if Hellblade's not there, and of course Starfield's going to be there. Some of the more, we'll see if they're there or not. I really want to see Fable. I love Fable 1. I love Fable 2. I love Playground Games. I want to see Fable. I don't know if it'll be there or not, but I want to see it. It's been in development for so long now. They've got to have something to show by now. So I really, really hope Fable's there. I'll be pretty disappointed if it's not. I'd love to see the Coalition show up with Gear 6 tease. I mean, it'd be cool if the Coalition was doing a new IP, but it sounds like that was canceled. The Coalition hasn't had a new game since 2019, Gears 5. So it's been 4 years. It'd be very cool if we got a Gear 6 teaser. And I'd love to see what some of these other studios that we haven't seen yet, what they're doing. Like, I'd love to see what Compulsion's up to. We have seen nothing from Compulsion. We have rumblings about what they're working on, but we've seen nothing. So stuff like that. I would say Fable. I'd say Compulsion's new game, I hope. And I'd love to get a Gear 6 tease. I loved Gears 5. Highlander didn't have a member question yet besides the renewal. He says, I do not think we will see any Halo at the showcase. I agree. I think the only way we see Halo here is if that rumored new game that they're working on gets a tease, but I think it's too early for that too. Like the one that's on Unreal Engine. So I agree. I doubt we see Halo. If we do see Halo, it's going to be like very brief. It'll just be like some brief, here's what's in the next season type thing. You know what I mean? Which would be like a 1 or 2 minute sizzle reel. I agree. I don't think we see Halo in any big way here. At most, they'll just tease like the next season in a quick sizzle reel. All right. All members have had questions asked. Let me hit this last super chat, and then I'm going to get to some of the just non-member and non-super chat questions. Highlander here with a 10 super chat. Thank you so much, Highlander. Very, very generous, man. Benji, your thoughts on the ads for Samsung TVs and the fact that it will have Game Pass? Never mind that Game Pass works with ROG Ally. Microsoft's marketing at work. Take your daughter to the beach. Oh, we do. My daughter, we've taken her to the beach every year since she's been born, except this year. We just don't have enough money this year. It's financials. Sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't. We're going to take a quick small vacation here in like August, but we don't have the money for the beach this year. But she's only 4 and she's been lucky enough to go to the beach already 3 times. So this will be the first year that she doesn't get a chance to. In regards to their marketing with Samsung TVs, I think it's smart. Getting, Game Pass and xCloud, do they even call it xCloud anymore? I know at one point they did. I think now it's just like Xbox streaming or something like that. Whatever they call it. Getting Game Pass and that to as many places as possible just makes sense. with their business strategy. That's what they want. They want their things everywhere. Sticking them on Samsung TVs, super smart. I would say it's super smart. That is one aspect of Xbox's business that I think they are doing very well on. You know, I'm critical of Xbox in some ways, right? I've been pretty critical about their first party. And I've been pretty critical about some of their marketing choices, not all, but some of them. One thing I'm not critical on them on is like how ubiquitous they're making, you know, their games, like the way to access them, whether it's through Steam, whether it's through console, whether it's through streaming, whether it's through natively playing, whether it's on ROG Ally. Like, that's one thing that I really give Xbox credit on. They're doing a great job of just making their games accessible. They just need those games to come out. You know what I mean? So it's like the infrastructure setup they're doing, fan-friggin-tastic. Now they actually need those games to release. But yeah, no, great. Yep, that's very, very good. And Timmer here with just a quick 2 super chat. It's great to see you, my friend Timmer. Hope you're doing well, Benji. No question today. Well, I really appreciate that, Timmer. I'm doing, today's one of my good days. I really, really appreciate that, Timmer. It's very kind of you, man. Keep up the great work as always. All right, now let's get to your guys' just regular questions. DangerMan1337 here saying, going to make Xbox Showcase prediction video like you did for the PlayStation Showcase. I am DangerMan. Yes, that will go up tomorrow, just like I did with PlayStation, where it was, I put up my video the day before the showcase. It's going to be the same thing with Xbox. That will go up tomorrow. Believe it or not, the way I do those videos is actually a lot of work. And I didn't intend it to be. Like when I did that PlayStation one, my final video was like 40 minutes long. I literally went into that planning on making like a quick 10-minute video. And the way I structured it, like if I was just going to predict what's going to be there, I could do that in like 10 minutes. But I actually really liked how I did that video where I like looked at every PlayStation studio, what their current projects are, what their rumored projects are, how likely they are to be there or not. And I actually ended up like really liking the final product on that video, and I had great feedback from it. It did really, really good viewership for me, really good engagement for me. So I'm going to do the Xbox one the same, but Xbox is going to be even bigger because they have even more studios. So yes, DangerMan, look for that video. It will be up tomorrow. I'm going to do all the prep work on it tonight. That way I can film, edit, and post it tomorrow. It should be up, you know, I would say, you know, by noon-ish my time tomorrow probably. I'm going to do all the prep work tonight. That way I can just dive straight into the filming and editing of it. And yes, I will do that, DangerMan. I'm very excited to do that. It's probably going to be quite beefy again because they have a lot of studios. SD. Sony needs to reveal what's next for them at least in the end of 2024. But man, let's do the list. Final Fantasy 16 in June. Spider-Man 2 in October. Helldivers 2 late 23. Stellar Blade late 23, maybe 24. 7 Remake early 24. Destiny 2 Final Shape early 24. Silent Hill 2 Remake 24. Concord 24. The Show 24. I mean, they need a showcase, but at the same time, they don't. Thoughts? Those are the lots and lots of releases. You know, SD, that is a good point. Like in terms of like actual exclusives, there is a lot coming for PlayStation 5 in the near future, right? You just listed a ton of them. I think the main reason why you're seeing a lot of discontent around PlayStation and their announcement slate right now is because we don't know what so many of their like flagship first party teams are up to. Because if you notice, a lot of those ones that you pointed out, and whether that's a fair criticism or not, you know, that's up to you guys. But I'm saying, like, I think why you're seeing a lot of people still be like, man, Sony's, you know, underwhelming me in terms of, like, their announcements. Where's their slate lineup? It's because, like, look at this list. Final Fantasy 16, that's a third-party game. It's exclusive, right? These are all exclusives, but, like, listen to where I'm going here. Final Fantasy 16 is a third-party game. Helldivers 2 is... It's like weird. It's like a second party game because Helldivers is an IP that Sony owns, but that studio is third party. Again, it's not one of their big flagship first party teams. Stellar Blade, it's a third party game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's a third party game. Silent Hill 2, that's a third party game. You see what I'm getting at? Like a lot of these exclusives that are coming up are from third parties, And it's not like, you know, the next big Sucker Punch game or the next big Naughty Dog game or the next big, you know, Gorilla game or the next big Bend Studio game. You know what I mean? So that's not me saying that those games aren't going to all be amazing or whatever. Or there's not a lot of exclusives coming to PlayStation, because there are. I just think that's part of the reason why there's so much discontent right now around PlayStation. Like, what are you know, where's the announcements? I think it's that. It's like those big first party studios you own, flagship AAA single player games that people have come to love with the brand. There's just hardly any of those announced right now. There's a lot of cool exclusives announced, but just not a lot of the ones that people associate with PlayStation. And again, whether that's a fair criticism or not, that's up to you. I just think that's where it's coming from. You know what I mean? Duquesta here. Yo, Benji, do you think it was a smart strategy from Sony to hold the Spider-Man 2 release date for Summer Game Fest? Looking at the social media metrics of the announcements, it looked like it paid off. Yeah, that's another one that's just ridiculous. So remember how we talked about the Sonic announcement doing ridiculous metrics on Twitter? Well, they're not the only ones. So's Insomniac. So the release date announcement from Insomniac right now, again, is at almost 100,000 likes. 96.3 thousand likes on Twitter. Guys, again, I watch social metrics all the time. These are incredible engagement numbers for video games. So it's interesting. I wonder if this date just now got locked down. You know, I don't know. It is interesting that they didn't do the release date at the showcase, but they did it now, because that's only a few weeks away from each other. But release dates can be a little weird. It very well could be that even though that was only a couple weeks ago, they might not have still had a firm date in mind then. You know what I mean? They might have known October. It's definitely possible that even as recently as that showcase, they were like, okay, we're targeting October. We still don't know that exact date. It could be one of these scenarios, Duquesta, that it's just now was the time that date came together. Like where they knew for sure, okay, this is the date we're shipping on. Could also not be true. They very well could have known at the showcase the exact release date, and they just chose to do Summer Game Fest. I don't know the answer to that, but it could be a scenario where it's like they just didn't know until the last week or two, like that exact date they were going to do. Maybe they planned on, you know, for a while that they were going to show up at Summer Game Fest in some way. I doubt they just suddenly had this concept art ready and they suddenly just in the last minute rang Jeff Keighley and were like, hey, we're going to show up, you know, 3 days from now to, and we had no plans before to be there, just to let you know. You know what I mean? I doubt it was one of those scenarios, but it could have been they just wanted to give Insomniac as long as possible. Like they knew, hey, we are going to show up at Summer Game Fest. Ideally, we're going to have a release date ready to go by then. And maybe they finally finalized it in just the last week or two. It's possible. Cameron Swear, hey Benji, how normally is it for PlayStation to have these pack-in bundles, God of War for example? Curious as to the reasoning for this. Is this necessary for them to hit the 25 mil goal? Well, Sony is definitely no stranger at all to bundling games. You know, The Last of Us, the original The Last of Us Remastered was bundled pretty heavily at times with PS4. Horizon Zero Dawn was bundled pretty heavily with the original PS4. Not at launch, but Sony's been bundling first-party games for quite a while. I would say that what they've done with Forbidden West and Ragnarok, where they bundled these games so early in their life, is a little unprecedented. They did not do that so much on the PS4. They did, of course, have like launch bundles, like when these games came out, like limited edition Spider-Man bundle and a limited edition God of War 2018 bundle. I had that Pro. So they would always do some, but like as common as it was, like where they really bundled Ragnarok a lot, like right at launch, and they really bundled Forbidden West a lot at launch. Not super common. I already told you guys my theory on why that happened, though. I think it was a stealth price raise, right? Because they raised the price of the PS5 in a lot of markets, but they never actually officially raised the price in North America. However, these bundles were not $4.99. Now, I know now we're starting to see price cuts on them. They were $5.59. It was a stealth way, in my opinion. I think the whole reason that happened, like as heavily as it did, was a way for them to stealth raise the price in North America without being like, here's an official price raise and get the bad PR. Could be wrong on that, but I think that was part of it, to be honest with you. Jason Benjamin, it's confirmed Spider-Man 2 won't have multiplayer. Do you think Insomniac or another dev could make a multiplayer Marvel game this gen? Could Spidey 3 have multiplayer or a standalone multiplayer Spider-Man game? Well, it's very possible that there's a standalone multiplayer Spider-Man game in development. We don't know. We know Insomniac is making some sort of multiplayer game because they've been hiring for it. Like they've outright said in their hirings for multiplayer. So, you know, it could be that Spider-Man 2 is still just going to be a single-player focused game, but they're going to do some sort of multiplayer spin-off title. That's still Spider-Man. We don't know. Who knows what the multiplayer game is? It could be a Ratchet and Clank multiplayer game for all we know. They've done that before. All for One, I think it was called. But Insomniac's making something multiplayer. Who knows what it is, though. Could Insomniac or another dev do it? I mean, I would say yes, because there's still a lot of Marvel games getting made. So I would be surprised if no one makes a multiplayer Marvel game. But I think Marvel is kind of learning that what people want out of Marvel games are like what Spider-Man was. I think there's a bit of a learning lesson that happened with, you know, some of these other games like Avengers and Midnight Suns, where they were these like, I feel like, and we're going to find out very soon, right? I've been saying that the upcoming Wolverine game, the upcoming Iron Man game from EA Motive, the upcoming Black Panther game that's on the way, like these games are going to definitively tell us what the real demand for Marvel games are, because there's been this long-term debate. Is it only Spider-Man that can find these huge sales successes like we saw out of 2018 and Miles Morales? Is it only that, or is there like huge demand for other Marvel characters? And I've always said we haven't really had many games yet that follow that Spider-Man formula of a big AAA Marvel hero getting a narrative story in like a really big like way. You know, we kind of had Guardians, but people forget Guardians had atrocious marketing before launch. It was bad. It was they missold that game so bad it's crazy. I remember at E3, everyone was like, wow, Guardians of the Galaxy looks terrible. And then it got huge, great word of mouth once it came out. But like leading up to launch, people were like so negative on that game. We're going to find out. Wolverine, if it does really, really great, if EA Motive's Iron Man game does really, really great, then we'll know, hey, there is still a lot of demand for Marvel games. It's just maybe not the sort of games people have been making. So we'll see. Zinfamous, hey Benji, I and others like when things aren't spoiled for shows. I'm with you. Is there genuinely anything that Xbox/PlayStation could do to completely lock everything down for a showcase so that nothing leaks? They've gotten better about it. There were years in the past, I'll say, like I won't say any detail of how, but there was times in the past, guys, where I knew every game at some of these showcases, like beforehand, like quite literally every game. Like I had the whole list. Not always. I'm not always looking for that, but there are times. There were some E3s where like going into a certain presenter show, whether that was Xbox or not, I literally knew every game in the show. I don't really like doing that much though. Like I kind of avoid finding out about leaks nowadays about showcases because Infamous, I'm kind of more on your lines where I kind of don't really like to know. I will say though that even with people that are trying to find out about this stuff, they have gotten better. Zinfamous, they have gotten better than they used to be. It used to be like kind of a lot of people knew like at least 90% of what a showcase was going to be. Like I wasn't the only one that knew like whole lists of showcases before they started. I knew people who also knew it. Nowadays, I don't hear many people saying, oh yeah, I know everything that's going to be at the show. Like I don't hear that much. Like I'll have people maybe be like, oh yeah, I know like this thing's supposed to be here, but not the way it used to be. So Zinfamous, they have definitely gotten better about it. Can they ever hit a point though where it's like nothing's going to leak out? No, because there's just way too many people involved. You know, you have way too many studios that are making games planning on being there, and there's a risk at every one of those studios that someone talks, because they do, guys. I'm just going to tell you, devs talk, you know, whether they should be or not, they talk, I can assure you. Not all of them. It's not all of them at all. But a lot of these leaks sometimes originate from the devs themselves, just saying something they shouldn't to somebody. So you have, once you factor in all of the studios that are going to present a game at a showcase, I mean, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, potentially thousands of people once you factor in all of the games. So you have all of that. You have all of those marketing materials that other people are touching, you know, whether that's someone at the studio or it's like a third-party contract, right? Because some of these CG trailers are not even made by the studio. They're commissioning someone else to do it. So one of those people can talk. Like, there's just so many pieces to the puzzle. They could never completely lock it down, but I will say they've gotten better. They have gotten better with time about it, yeah. But they'll never be able to get it to where nothing leaks. Just too many pieces to that pie. The Deadly 8. Hey, Benji, when do you think the live service arms race will end? When do you think developers and publishers will stop chasing and failing at live service? Could it die like Battle Royale chase? I believe that there are some publishers that are learning this lesson right now. Ubisoft being one of them. Guys, I don't think it's a coincidence that suddenly you're seeing all of this pivot back to the games that Ubisoft used to make, right? Why is it all of a sudden now there's like 5 Assassin's Creed games announced? Like, out of nowhere. Like, they were like, here's Mirage, which is a single-player Assassin's Creed game, and we're making an Assassin's Creed game that's set in Japan, and we're making an Assassin's Creed game that's single-player that's going to be like, you know, Hex or whatever it's called. Oh, and by the way, we just recently announced we're going to put like hundreds of more people on the Assassin's Creed franchise. Oh, and we've got Avatar coming up, which isn't a live service game. Oh, and we got like, dude, it's because they did that massive pivot. They did an all-in on free-to-play and multiplayer live service. A lot of that straight up got canceled and never even came out. I'm telling you guys, internally, they canceled a ton of them. And then B, they had some come out and just outright fail, right? There was that game like Hyperscape or something like that was called, that just completely colossally bombed. And now they're starting to go back. Not that they've dropped the trend chasing. They still have a bunch of free-to-play on the way. But all of a sudden, you're starting to see Ubisoft be like, we're also making a lot of the big AAA single-player games we used to make again. It ain't a coincidence. Ubisoft started to learn that lesson. Ubisoft, I've been telling you guys a lot, should be a warning sign. It should be the canary in the coal mine to every publisher in the industry. Don't do what Ubisoft did. Doesn't mean don't make live service games, because everyone should make live service games. Some single player fans aren't going to like hearing that. They're going to be like, it's a complete waste of time. Well, it's not, because you might be able to get the next Apex. You might be able to get the next Fortnite. You might be able to get the next Destiny. The odds of that? Very, very low. But there is a chance. So you should be making some of them. But Ubisoft should be the giant flashing neon sign. Don't do what we did. All right? Don't do it. Don't just pivot all in. So I would say the Deadly 8, I think the industry is kind of learning that right now, to be very careful about going too all in on live service. But at the same time, they all do need to be making some. It would be, you know, business negligence to not be trying to get some big multiplayer service hits. You just got to be careful. You can't go all in on that, because the reality is it's too competitive and these games are too hard to make successful. So you should just be making some, but not like 10 of our studios are now making these games, because they're not going to all hit. Like, they're just not. Batman Forever. Benji-Sales, so the rumors regarding Project Q turns out to be true. Does that mean PS5 Pro is definitely coming? Yeah, I think so. I mean, talk about Tom Henderson nailing it. Is it a good idea? Will it sell well? What do you want from it? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I talked about that, I think, briefly. It might have been only in Discord. I can't remember if I said it on a chat. But I was like, once they showed Project Q and it was literally exactly what Tom Henderson reported, I was like, well, there's your confirmation on PS5 Pro. Because Tom Henderson was the source of both of them, and he nailed Project Q. Like, literally even down to Q being the code name for it, right? It's one thing to, like, be like, oh, I heard they're making a handheld, like, kind of vaguely. Like, he nailed every aspect of it, like what it would look like, what the code name was, and he's the same one who had PS5 Pro details. I'd say, yeah, Tom Henderson clearly has very strong sources in PlayStation's hardware chain. You know, where he's getting that info, I don't know, but clearly he's got very good contacts that know things about the PlayStation hardware side. So, yeah, to me, PS5 Pro essentially was confirmed whenever they announced Q Lite, or, well, they're calling it just Q now, but, you know, same difference. What do I want from it? I suspect the way Sony's going to be able to sell the Pro, I don't think they're going to be able to get massive GPU increases over like just raw processing. I don't think they're going to get a massive bump on RAM. I don't think they're going to get a massive bump on the CPU. Maybe some of these things will be marginally improved, maybe. But I don't think it'll be like it was last gen, where the selling point of like PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, like they talked about like how much more powerful the GPU was, right? That was especially on the One X. That was a big sell. They were like, the raw, teraflop performance increased by so much. I think, and this is just a theory because I have no idea what's in the Pro, but I think the way they're probably going to position these mid-gen refreshes are on two things. I think they're going to really improve the ray tracing performance, because that is like the one criticism you can make of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. They're very, very strong consoles, especially for just native rendering, but they don't do great on ray tracing. They're like okay, but they're not like amazing compared to PC. So I think they'll probably find ways to get ray tracing running way better on these consoles. And I think the other thing is they might do like some of that AI machine learning, like upscaling stuff on them, kind of like what you see out of like NVIDIA DLSS. It won't literally be NVIDIA DLSS because these aren't NVIDIA GPUs, but I think they might find ways to get even better AI upscaling technology into them. And those might be the two cells. The two cells might be like, if it's, a lot better than what we have in them right now, because I know they can do a little bit of that stuff right now, but not like near DLSS quality. So that's my theory. That's my theory on how they're going to sell these. Let me make sure there was no super chats, because the alerts have not been great on super chats today. Okay, there was one. See? I'm sorry, Highlander. The YouTube is like not alerting me to super chats. I don't know what the deal is. Highlander001 with a 2 super chat. Do you think Sony is worried about Activision Blizzard King passing? Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Otherwise, Jim Ryan wouldn't have been so completely aggressive, and Sony as a whole, over this deal. Of course, yeah, they're very worried about it. So yeah, my response would be absolutely. Zero question Sony's worried about it. Again, I caution myself now, like I don't have strong opinions on this deal like some people do. Like you have some people, like their whole identity right now online is just focused on just covering this deal, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's the biggest deal in the history of the video game industry. But I'm not really that way. I'm more just along for the ride right now. I keep saying, to me, it's 50-50. It might pass, it might not. But is Sony worried? Like your specific question, is Sony worried? Yeah, they are very worried about it. Yes, absolutely. I don't think that Sony truly believes PlayStation's dead if this goes through, like how Jim Ryan has kind of stated things at times. Jim Ryan has tried to go full doom and gloom, like, oh my God, if this passes, we just can't be competitive and it's the end of PlayStation as we know it. Like, guys, that's not true. We all know that's not true. But, and I don't think even Jim believes that. I believe that's posturing, right? He's posturing for the courts, to be like, look at how poor, situation Sony's in. So, I don't think Jim even believes that. But are they still worried about the powerful impact it could have for the Xbox brand? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Very, very concerned. All right. I'm going to go for 15 more minutes and we're out. 15 minutes and we're out. Sleepy Mailman. Hey, Benji, is there still hope on Stellar Blade releasing in 2023? Well, I hope so. I'm excited for that game. I think it looks super cool. I'm like super into Stellar Blade. Like I'm looking forward to that game, actively looking forward to it. So I would say, though, that the hope is looking slimmer by the minute. The fact it wasn't at the PlayStation Showcase, the fact it wasn't at Summer Game Fest, it clearly won't be at the Xbox Showcase. It's running out of time to be shown with the release date, right? We're coming up. I know it's only June, but like usually if your game's going to be launching this year still, you kind of would have it announced by now, right? Or at least within this month. Like usually that's why E3 season has been so traditionally important, is usually that's like the latest you would get the second half of the year lineup announced, right? It would either be before that or like at the latest by E3. Usually anything announced after that E3 timeframe would be targeting the next year. So Stellar Blade's running out of places to get shown and announced with a release date. So I would still say there's a slim hope because we still have half a year to go, but I would say it's looking increasingly likely to me that Stellar Blade's been delayed till 2024, but we'll see. Casual gamer, do you think too much creative freedom can lead to disasters like Redfall? Other games, do you think devs will be given less creative freedom due to that? Should devs get less creative freedom? Like, look at Last of Us multiplayer, for example. They were so hands-off with that project, and it has major shakeups now and got delayed. So should higher-ups/publishers be more hands-on with game development? You know, I've talked about this a bunch. To me, it really needs to be a balance of both. You know, there's going to be some studios, right, where you can be pretty hands-off. If they have an incredible internal leadership, they have incredible, like, they're just set up for success. There are going to be some studios that you can let just be fairly autonomous. You know, I know it's a weird comparison, but I made this one in my last chat, but it does kind of apply. I work for a big retailer, right? We all have district managers, right, that oversee a bunch of stores. There are some stores like mine. The store I work at is very, very good. We just have great leadership at my store. District managers rarely come to my store. Usually when they come to my store, they walk in, they look around, they're like, wow, you guys are doing great. And they're gone in 10 minutes. However, there are other stores in my district that I know where the district managers are there very, very often. And they're very, very often having to give feedback and working directly in those stores to improve them. I know it sounds like a weird comparison, but it's also very, very relevant. It's the same way in the video game industry, or really any industry. There are going to be studios, if the leadership is top notch, if they're running that thing excellent, that whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, you can probably come in every once in a while. You don't want to be completely hands off, but you don't have to be like super engaging, right? You just come in every once in a while, check on the status of the project. Yep, you guys are doing excellent as we expected. You guys, you just become known for that. And then if if they do need more help, they can reach out. But there's going to be some studios that leadership's not there like that, or that project is just not, the leadership's not doing well on that project, and you're gonna have to be way more hands-on. So I'm not of the idea that like devs need to get robbed of creative freedom, that you need publishers to be overbearing, because there has been times like that in the past. There was a time that EA was known for this. I've heard that has improved a lot, but there was a time that within EA, their management was seen as way overbearing. So it just depends. But ideally, like, you can't be hands off on some studios. That's just the reality. You can't just be like, this is a creative business and we let the creative people do everything, because sometimes that's not going to work out, right? Sometimes you do need an outside source to step in and be like, all right, guys, this has gone off the rails. We need to either cancel this project or we need to figure out how we turn this thing around. And you need an outside source to come in and do that. Like, there are times that's going to happen. I'm never going to root for an overbearing publisher, but you can't be super hands-off either on some of them. So, it's just a case-by-case basis. And that's why strong leadership is so important on every level, especially in projects this expensive. Whether that's leadership at the publisher, right? Whether that's Xbox, EA, PlayStation, whatever. Or whether it's leadership within the individual studio. When we're talking millions of dollars, because all of these projects are millions, some hundreds of millions of dollars, that's way too much money on the line to not have incredibly strong leadership. It's very important. John, are you going to be live streaming the Xbox showcase? I don't do the streams, like live stream reactions, as much as I used to, because it's kind of important for me to cover them on Twitter. I hate to say it, but it's like a lot of times, like with my coverage, I have to make a choice, right? My Twitter is so much bigger than my YouTube. And, maybe that's one criticism you can make of why my YouTube doesn't grow fast, right? My YouTube channel right now is still under 5,000 subs, and I've had this channel for, I think, 4 years. I think I made it in 2019. So in 4 years, I've gotten 5,000 subscribers, right? I still haven't hit it. I'm like close. I'm still under 5,000 subs. On the meantime, my Twitter just passed 70,000, right? So my Twitter is literally more than 10 times the size of my YouTube. Like it's more than 10 times the size of my YouTube. So it's like, if I have to focus on one, it kind of makes sense to focus on the one that is bigger, right? That just naturally has more interest. People are more interested in my Twitter account than they are in my YouTube account. And I can't cover on Twitter showcases and YouTube at the same time, because it would make the reaction streams not very entertaining, right? If I'm sitting here and I'm live with you guys, but like half the time I'm looking down at my phone, typing the tweet, oh, this game announced, here's the date, like taking the screenshot, it wouldn't make for a great viewing experience. So for some people, it makes more sense for them to be live streaming reactions on YouTube, because YouTube is where their audience is. For me, most of my audience is actually on Twitter. So it makes more sense for me to focus on, being able to live tweet and live, the game announcements and release dates and all that sort of stuff. So John, I hate to say it, right now there's no plans for me to live the Xbox showcase. I just, I got to focus on the thing that has more interest, and that's my Twitter account. Ulfric Stormcloak. Hello, Benji. What are you most expecting from Bethesda at the showcase, aside from Starfield? I think ZeniMax Online Studios game could appear, as well as Indiana Jones or a new id Software game. The one thing I can say I have heard about ZeniMax Online Studios game, I won't give any detail on this, but I've heard it is very ambitious. We'll see if that ends up being true or not, but that's what I've been told, is that their new game is very ambitious. So that one, to me, I have no idea when they'll show it, because it has been in development for a little while now. But anytime you're making something that, from what I'm hearing, is very ambitious, that can take a long time to come together. So it's hard for me to say if ZeniMax Online's game will be there or not. On one hand, like I said, I could totally see it. It's been in development for a few years now. But on the other hand, if it's as ambitious as what I'm hearing, that could take a while. I think Indiana Jones is a shoo-in. I said that. It just makes sense, right? The movie's about to come out. This is a perfect time to show it. Literally the same month as the movie releasing. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better marketing duo than that, right? Indiana Jones movie's about to drop. What better way to tie in all of this attention together than the game reveal? I think Indiana Jones is very, very likely, yeah. I don't think it's a lock, but it's likely. Machine Games hasn't had a game for a few years now. This has been announced for a while. The movie's about to come out. Yeah, I would say Indiana Jones. Outside of that, I don't know. Tango's not going to have a new game yet, I don't think. Machine Games is Indiana. ZeniMax has that new game that they're making. Bethesda Game Studios has Starfield. Arcane, I mean, maybe Arcane Leon could announce something. Clearly, Arcane Austin's not. Maybe. I would say there's a slim chance Arcane Leon could have an announcement, but I don't consider it likely. But it's possible, theoretically. The most likely seems Indiana Jones. Pio White Wolf saying, Benji, what is up, Pio? I hope you are doing good, brother. Your vacation looked amazing. When you were in, didn't you go to, was it Abu Dhabi? I think that's where you went. Dude, your vacation looked epic. I saw the pictures and videos you were posted from the club, Pio. I hope you had a good time, my friend. It looked like a great vacation, man. Hope you're feeling rested and recharged. Great to see you, my brother. Jean Corriera, loved Summer Game Fest. Summer Game Fest was lit. Nothing wrong with that, Jean. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Everyone's always going to have different takes on these showcases, right? I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was just like a passing grade. But, dude, if someone gives this an A+, ain't nothing wrong with that at all. It's all opinions. Sounds PP7. Benji, for my birthday in February, do you think I could get Dragon's Dogma 2 in Q1 2024? That's all I want. Oh, God, I'm excited for Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm of the opinion Dragon's Dogma 1 is super underrated. Could you get it in Q1? Yes, that is absolutely possible, Silence. They've shown gameplay trailer now for this game. We're about to get more footage at Capcom's show. Sounds to me like Dragon's Dogma 2 is not that far away. I don't think it's this year because I think they would have said so, but Q1 of next year, yeah, that's not off the table at all in my opinion. Considering they're in a place now where they're showing in-game content. Like, that was a pretty beefy trailer they showed at the PlayStation Showcase for it. They're about to show it again at Capcom's show. This game clearly is pretty far along. So, it could be, yeah. I don't think it's a lock, but Silence, there is definitely a chance you could get Dragon's Dogma 2 in Q1. Yeah, there's a chance. I don't think it's super far away. I would say Q1, Q2 at the latest in 2024. I don't think it's later than that. I don't think they'd be showing this much if it was still like second half of next year. It's going to be Q1 or Q2 of next year. Jim Brown, last year Xbox had partnerships with Riot Games and Kojima. Do you think Xbox will have any this year? And if so, who would you expect? Well, one leaked. Spoiler alert. There was already a leak about a big partnership that's going down. And it's all over the interwebs. So we already know one of them. If you mean like a deal like a partnership like Riot was, where it's stuff coming to Game Pass, like more than one thing coming to Game Pass from a studio or publisher, well, we already know one because it leaked out. Other than that one, I think so, yeah. I think there's going to be some sort of third-party exclusive deal on something. Now, the one that leaked isn't exclusive. It's a multi-game Game Pass deal, but I'm sure there's going to be some sort of third-party exclusive type deal, I'm sure. Greg Ski liked Summer Game Fest more than the PlayStation show. Nothing wrong with that. You know, it might have been a little bit better, to be honest with you. But I don't know. To me, they're very comparable. They're just both C's to me. Mark Johnson gave it an A. Rebirth, Ever Crisis, MK, Prince of Persia. The show is 10 out of 10 for me personally. Nothing wrong with that, Mark, at all. Nothing wrong with that at all, man. Danger Man, I wonder if trying to ape the Game of Thrones look is putting Japanese audiences off Final Fantasy 16. I don't know. It's pretty interesting because it does look like 16 is going to really struggle in Japan. So I think that might be part of the rumors, right? There's these rumblings going around that Square Enix is concerned about launch sales. And even, what's his name? Yoshi P mentioned straight up in an interview. He was like, we'll see about first week sales. Like, he didn't sound very confident either. I suspect the vast bulk of that is coming from Japan, like where it's falling short. If you just look at the pre-order charts, right, that are tracked, I think Pierre has been posting them on Twitter, and a few other people have been talking about it. Like in Japan specifically, 16's tracking way below 15 and 7 Remake. So I don't think that's going to be the case in the West. I'm not saying it's going to sell as well as 7 Remake or 15 in the West. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying I don't know that it's going to be like just ridiculously below those two in the West. However, in Japan, it looks like it's going to be way below both of those games. So I think that's part of why they're worried, is specifically because Japan, because Final Fantasy is one of those games, right? There's some games it doesn't really matter how well they sell in Japan. A lot of Western published games, it's like, okay, Japan's just gravy on top. That's not the case for Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy sells a lot in Japan. A huge chunk of its sales come from Japan. I'm not saying it's the majority, but a big, big chunk. And if Japan underperforms, that affects your total sales by a lot. So we'll see. The reasoning behind why it's tracking so low compared to those two games, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's not looking good. A lot of excitement for Sonic Superstar. Justice Bolt also says Sonic Superstar looks amazing. I'm even hyped for the Prince of Persia game from Ubisoft. I think it looks good too. Both of them, yeah. Chad, with the blank, I'm not going to say the name just in case you don't want to know, but with blank being accidentally leaked, does this hurt the Xbox showcase or actually help it? Like bringing in more viewers and such? I would say it's more of a negative than a positive. That would have been a pretty hype reveal. It's not like such a negative that it like, oh wow, now people aren't going to watch the show because of this. Not at all, right? It's not that sort of thing. Like if it would have been multiple first party games leaking, then oof, that would be pretty bad, right? Like if somehow the whole Starfield Direct accidentally got posted, or like, you know, who said maybe Fable's there and a Fable trailer gets like, that'd be pretty bad. It's like definitely not great because it would have been a fun hype moment during the show, but it's not like game breaking. It's just like, if it's a positive or a negative, I would lean a little more negative, but it ain't that big a deal. We're getting close to the end. Let me make sure that no members came in late and have questions that I haven't gotten hit. I don't think Benji got a member question. I know Benji had some super chats, but I don't think Benji got a member question. And I'm seeing one here from Benji. Benji, why devs keep pushing CGI and cinematic trailers? Those are really despised by the core gamers. There's actually one reason for this. Are they destined to a different audience, casuals, non-hardcore gamers? Actually, guys, if you want to know the real reason why CG trailers are commonly used in the industry right now, it is for recruiting. Like, that's literally the main reason. It's not the only reason. I'm not telling you that every CG trailer that was ever made was only for recruiting purposes, because sometimes the publisher just wants a game to announce. But honestly, a lot of the time, it is used for recruiting purposes. It is saying, we are making this game, and we need people. If you want to make this game, here's where to come. Like, CD Projekt literally openly said that's why Cyberpunk was announced with the CG trailer early. There's been other studios that have said the exact same thing. And I know even internally that has been discussed at many studios. Like, part of the reason they get announced early with a CG trailer is to say, come work on this game. We need people that want to make this game. If you want to make this game, come apply. If you just have a very generic, we're hiring, you don't know that you're going to get the specific talent that you want because people don't know what you're working on, right? And in the job interview, you're not necessarily going to say, hey, here's the exact game we're making. We don't even know if you're hired here. We're just going to tell you the exact game. Now you can go leak it when we don't hire you, right? If you announce a CG trailer, maybe it's early, maybe it's annoying, but if you need to hire 50, 80, 90 people for a project and you really want to draw in specific talent for a game, there's almost no better way to do it than to be like, here's what we're making. Come apply. If you want to make Witcher 4, whatever, just pick, because Witcher 4 was one of these games that was announced vaguely with just, here's the logo, next gen Witcher. If you want to make Witcher, come on, we're making the next Witcher game. You know what I mean? So it's used that way a lot. Not always, but that is one common reason why you see CG trailers, is for recruiting, but not always. Sometimes the publisher just wants a game announced, or even if it's early. But a lot of times it's for recruiting. And also, it's a way to get out early if you're afraid something's going to leak, right? If you're afraid, hey, we're making a big project and this might leak, if you put a CG trailer out there, at least now everyone knows, so they can't leak it. But recruiting is for a lot of it. All right, I'm going to just get one or two more questions and then we're out. Danger Man, the biggest question: why wasn't Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or why wasn't Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Rise of the Ronin not shown at the showcase? Yeah, Rebirth not being at the showcase is weird. The only theory I have on this, Danger Man, is that they didn't want two Final Fantasies in the same show. They wanted to spread it out. That's the only thing I can think of. Whether that was a PlayStation decision or a Square Enix decision, I'm not sure. But the only, because it is weird, because it isn't exclusive, so it's weird it wasn't there. That is my theory, Danger Man. My theory is either PlayStation or Square Enix, one of those two, because 16 was there, remember? 16 had some stuff in the showcase. That's my theory. My theory is they were like, one of those two was like, we don't want 16 and 7 Rebirth within the same show. We want to spread it out so both get the love. That's the only thing I can think of. I agree with this actually from John. This is pretty funny. I agree with this to a degree. John C., this is the part where Terminally Online fanboys start listing off all the reasons why none of those games count. The main reason you're seeing a lot of discontent around gaming in general is because 2% of the people on Twitter never log off, and they've made it their personality to complain. John, I agree with that. It's a minority of a minority of a minority voicing discontent and constantly crying on all the coverage channels, 24-hour news cycles, but for gaming. I mean, I think you're mostly right, if I'm going to be honest with you. That doesn't mean that there aren't real reasons to complain about the video game industry. That doesn't mean there's not real gripes to have about the video game industry. However, a lot of the discontent is from people that are terminally online. Yes, that is absolutely true. Again, that doesn't mean that there's not things that annoy casual gamers or the general audience, but I tell you guys all the time, I love watching social media metrics. I just mentioned them twice in the stream, right? We talked about Sonic Superstar's social metrics. We talked about Spider-Man 2's social metrics. I love social metrics. But what's the other thing I also tell you guys? Be very careful about reading too much into social metrics. I find them a useful tool, a fun tool, but the amount of people that are on Twitter every single day, liking, commenting, retweeting, replying, engaging, that are also just gamers in general, it is not representative of the general gamer. We are the true hardcores, right? So yes, I would say a lot of the negativity you see in general about gaming is from people that are just constantly online talking about it and not the general gamer. Yes. Again, there's always going to be exceptions, but yes, that is part of why I would say you see a lot of negativity. Jared, Benji, do you think the lifetime sales of the Xbox Series XS will reach/surpass the Xbox 360 sales of 85 million, especially knowing that Phil said he can finally see the Xbox games releasing at cadence? Well, here's the thing. I was very, very, very bullish on Xbox and very confident they were going to greatly outsell Xbox One this gen. I was always not sure about 360, but this is one thing that certain hardcore Xbox fanboys, and I never like to talk about the fanboys, you guys know that I barely ever mention it on stream. However, there's been some of the very diehard, let's say, Xbox fans that have been upset with me at times about the negativity I've had about the Xbox brand over the last 6 to 8 months. And they forget, of course, because this is how it always works, how bullish I was on Xbox like a year or two ago. I was very positive on Xbox. I was tweeting and covering constantly about how Xbox Series X and S were the fastest selling Xboxes ever. I was talking about how I thought Forza Horizon 5 was amazing, the huge numbers Forza put up. I was talking about the huge numbers Halo Infinite put out at launch. I loved Halo Infinite at launch. Now, my love of Halo Infinite fell off very quickly because the content just died instantly. But I thought it had a great campaign. I thought that the multiplayer was super fun for what was there in the box at launch, not the long term, but at early on. I was very bullish on Xbox. However, at the same time, I'm never going to just be a cheerleader for any brand. And the reality is, Xbox's hardware has been in a very, very rough and difficult place for the since the second half of 2022 all the way through first half of 2023. That's just the truth. I don't need to cheerlead anything. I'm going to just be honest with you. It hasn't been in a good spot. Now, that has also impacted my expectations on where this thing can go lifetime. I still think at the end of the day, they're going to outsell Xbox One because I think at some point enough first-party software comes online that they're going to just have a lot of success at some point in hardware sales. However, can I go as high as to say they're going to reach Xbox 360 or higher levels? I'm a lot more doubtful on that now. They lost a lot of ground this generation in the last year. They really messed up. Like, people just need to be honest about it, whether you're the most diehard Xbox fan or not. They really messed up. They really messed up. They had so much momentum early in this gen. 2020, 2021, Xbox brand, if you looked at the hardware sales, they were accelerating super fast. If you looked at the few first-party games they were releasing, the engagement numbers on them, including through Game Pass, were just massive. Guys, that exclusive drought of AAA games that they had, like, I know there's a few cool games like Pentiment, but we're talking about the big system-selling games, the games that drive Game Pass, like the lack of those for an entire year. Guys, you can't undersell what sort of impact that had on this generation. Again, it's not doom and gloom. I think they can have a lot of success in the second half of this gen. But can I go as high as to say 360 or higher now? Seems tough, man. Seems tough with the amount of ground that they've lost in the last year. But you never know. But it will take some truly colossal years for Xbox to get there in the second half of this gen. I'll still say they outsell Xbox One. I still will say it'll be a more successful generation for them this gen than last gen was. But I can't go as high as 360 or higher right now. I would need to see a massive turnaround, guys. I would need to see like the second half of this year and the first half of 2024 just like exploding for Xbox, right? Which, hey, maybe. I'm not telling you it's impossible. But it's one of those scenarios now. I need to see the evidence before I can predict something like that. Because right now, I just can't predict that. Yeah, ditto. You can be under caloric deficit and not gain a lot of weight, although muscle mass might get lower. Oh yeah, I've definitely lost a little bit of muscle in the last month. Not a ton, but a little bit. And then Ditto also says, Benji, I'm trying to get into the Xbox Fan Fest here in Mexico, and I already sent some tweets to Xbox hoping to get an answer. Well, Ditto, hit them up. Let them let you in. Say, let me in. I really respect that Mexico, like, there's a lot of love for the Xbox brand in Mexico. It's really, really cool. We always talk about how North America is such a strong place for Xbox, but guys, don't undersell Mexico. Mexico's had a long history of being really supportive of Xbox, especially Gears of War. A lot of Gears fans in Mexico. All right, guys, I'm about to go. Let me pull one or two more out. And then I'm out. Yeah, Danger Man says, I wonder if AMD will bite the bullet on AI upscaling. Yeah, I think they kind of need to do some sort of AI upscaling to sell these consoles, these Pro ones. But we'll see. AMD is far behind NVIDIA on that, so we'll see. But we don't know, right? These are upcoming consoles, so they would have had stuff that's in the works at AMD right now. So maybe AMD has some sort of really big improvements to AI upscaling on the way. And part of that's going to be implemented on these platforms. We don't know. But I feel like they need something like that to sell them. Because I don't know how much the raw compute jump is going to be on these consoles. You know what I mean? These Pros. I just don't know. I don't know how you're going to get a vastly more powerful GPU, CPU, RAM, all of that stuff into these consoles and not just like have the price go to crazy levels, right? You're going to need some tweaks and twists and like other ways to find improvement performances, I feel like. And AI upscaling is absolutely a way you can get there. But AMD is far behind NVIDIA on that. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they've got some breakthroughs, though, in the pipeline that just, they're coming next year with these consoles, maybe, on their GPUs and stuff. You never know. Hard to say. Chronic Dex, were you surprised Bandai didn't show Armored Core? Game comes out in 2 months. Could be at the Xbox show. It absolutely could be at Xbox's showcase. So we've had one real look at the game, right? That original trailer. It could be that they're going to be at Xbox. Xbox is going to have some third-party games. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's going to mostly be, of course, first-party and Game Pass titles. I doubt Armored Core is going to be a Game Pass game, but it could be there. There's a chance that they have a new trailer for the Xbox show because it is very close. It's very, very close. So maybe they do one there. It wouldn't be unheard of. From Software showed Elden Ring at an Xbox show. Wasn't that like literally where it was announced? Was that an Xbox show? I'm pretty sure the original announcement was Xbox. So it could be. Armored Core might be at the Xbox showcase. We have a couple super chats, I think. Oh, no, one. Another super chat from Benji, and then I'm going to call it there. Wait, David Taylor and Luis, I think these are members that haven't gotten questions, so I'll hit them too. All right, so we're going to go Benji, Luis, and David Taylor, and then we're out. Benji here with a 5 super chat. Famitsu released 2022 game sales for Japan. Maybe one game over 300,000 and a few over 100,000. It seems Final Fantasy 16 is not tracking good to worrying for PS5 there. Yeah, we've been talking about this. The Final Fantasy 16 sales are not looking good in Japan at all. Is it worrying for PS5? Here's the weird thing about PS5. And there's all sorts of theories on what's going on with it, whether it's scalping or what. The actual hardware numbers for PS5 coming out of Japan weekly are pretty solid. They're nowhere near Switch levels, like Switch's peak or anything like that. But like for a modern PlayStation console, if you're looking at like PS3, PS4, and PS5, like the modern PlayStation era, it's doing pretty darn solid on weekly sales, but its software is terrible. It's so weird. And Japan is a market that's not known to be digital heavy, right? Compared to the West. I know that digital continues to increase in Japan, but it's still traditionally not at the same level as it is in the West. I don't know what's going on over there, man. I don't know. I would say I would say Final Fantasy 16 not tracking great isn't necessarily bad news for PlayStation. I would say it is for Square Enix, though. All right, Luis SR. Hi, Benji. Do you think Rebirth social media metrics were good or below what you expected? I mean, Final Fantasy hasn't been putting up great metrics in a while, if I'm being honest with you. Well, let's see. Where are they at right now? I think that actually the announcement trailer was decent. Or not announcement, but the new trailer. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty good. Like the 2-disc announcement for Final Fantasy VII on the official Final Fantasy VII account got 23,000 likes. That's very, very solid. The Ever Crisis and Rebirth screenshots, over 20,000 likes. Wow, over 50,000 for the new trailer. I'll be honest, these are good Twitter metrics. Now, how's the YouTube videos? I haven't looked at Rebirth on YouTube yet. Because 16, I'll say, hasn't had the greatest YouTube metrics, if I'm being honest with you. But let's see. Rebirth might be doing better than 16. Let's look at what Rebirth, because I haven't looked at the view counts of Rebirth yet. So the official PlayStation 1 is under 500,000 views. The Final Fantasy account is at 725. Pretty darn solid there. Still not over a milli, but nice. But like, let's look at 16, dude. Yeah, dude, that last 16 trailer on the Final Fantasy account, 114,000 views in 2 weeks. Not great. Not great. I've said this a bunch. They've shown 16 too much. Like, the interest in, like, new trailers for 16 has just fallen off a cliff. It's just fallen off a cliff. They've shown the game too much. Like, people just don't need to see any more of 16. So, I would say the Twitter metrics, really solid for Rebirth. Not mind-blowing, but very, very solid. Over 50,000 likes on the trailer, you know, on Twitter. Cool. The YouTube metrics are okay. They're not, like, blowing me away. The thing I'm always impressed by is whenever trailers on an individual upload, right? Not total, because you guys know whenever I do, like, YouTube roundups, I like to do that after the showcases. On those, I do, like, compiling, right? I'll take all of the most viewed ones, compile them all together, and be like, okay, here's the total views that it got on YouTube. But one metric that always impresses me is that when an individual upload, not my conglomerate, an individual one, whether it's the Square Enix one, the PlayStation one, whatever, when an individual trailer upload can go over 1 million in 24 hours on YouTube, I always consider that a very nice number. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as of now has not done that, but it does have a pretty good view count on the actual Final Fantasy account at 725,000, and that's still going to go up for a couple more hours. It hasn't been 24 yet, so maybe it can get to 1 million. But good. It's not blowing me away, but good. Better than 16's recent performances, I can tell you that. 16 is again, I don't think it's because 16 is going to bomb. I think they've shown the game too much, and people just aren't really watching trailers for 16 anymore. Because they're like, I've seen this game a lot. I don't really need to see anymore. And then David Taylor is going to end us here. They need a PS3 level turnaround at this point. I want to believe it's possible. Yeah, if we're going to talk about like hitting 360 type numbers, it would take a PS3 type turnaround, yes. They would have to have a massive second half of Xbox Series life cycle to overtake the 360 lifetime. Again, I'm not going to tell you it's impossible, but that is a big challenge. They're going to have to really just knock the second half of this generation out of the park in order for that to happen. They still have a very, very good to strong chance of outselling Xbox One. 360, though, is a high bar. It would take a massive turnaround. Okay, guys, we're going to end it there. The final results for the poll. I asked you guys the second poll. Out of the summer showcases, will Xbox have the best one? 75% of you say yes, they'll deliver, and only 25% of you say no, someone else will be better. I would say those are pretty impressive results that most people think that, because if you consider, I know the total view counts or the total votes here aren't high, but whenever you factor in that, you know, more people are going to be playing Nintendo than Xbox, more people are going to be playing PlayStation than Xbox, right? Xbox fans wouldn't be the majority of people voting on this poll. The fact that it still has 75% shows that, yeah, there's a lot of belief that they're going to have a pretty good showcase here. So 75% of you say yes, they'll have the best. only 25% of you say no, someone else's will be better. So it's looking good. A lot of excitement for the Xbox Showcase. We'll end the poll there. Thanks so much, guys, for an awesome live chat. Really enjoyed this one. Thank you for all of the support as always, guys. This week I just passed 70,000 followers on Twitter. I want to thank all of you guys for that. I know most of you in this chat also follow me on Twitter. Maybe there's a few of you that only follow me here on YouTube, but that was a big milestone for me. 70,000 blows me away. It looks like I'll pass 100,000 next year, which I'll be honest was a number I literally thought was impossible. Like whenever I started talking about this stuff, I never thought I'd be able to get to 100,000 followers on anything. Unless Twitter just like implodes, it looks like I'll pass 100,000 next year, which is just crazy to me. So thanks so much, guys. The support is very much appreciated. Thank you guys for a great chat. Thank you for all of the super chats. Thank you for all of the members in chat. Thank you for Blazing Flame. Yeah, you asked politely. I absolutely will, and you're a channel member. Can you answer my E3 question before you go? Yes, I'll do this really quick, and then we're out, Blazing Flame. Blazing Flame says, Benji, how likely is it to E3 return for real with AAA announcements in 2024? Blazing Flame, I think it's a steep ask. I think there's just a lot of belief within the industry itself. As a fan, I want E3 to come back. To me, the Summer Game Fest and all of this stuff spread out, it's still not as hype as it was like back in prime E3 days. Even a disappointing E3 was kind of more exciting than these spread out things because you just had everyone together, everyone back to back to back. Like it felt like the whole industry was coming together to celebrate. And now, even with Summer Game Fest, it just still feels so spread out. You got Jeff's show, and then you got Xbox's show, and then Nintendo was somewhere, and then PlayStation was back in May, and then some years they don't even do a June show. Like, it's just not the same as it was at its peak. Anyone that was around for E3, like, peak era, you guys remember how hyped that was. It's just not the same. So as a fan, I'd love to see E3 return. Do I think it's likely? Nah, I just don't see it. It breaks my heart to say it, Blazing Flame, but I think E3 is dead. All right, guys, I'm out. Like the video if you haven't already. It helps the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't. We do at least one of these chats every single, I almost said every day. No, we don't. Every week. Look for my Xbox predictions video for every studio going live tomorrow. And I'm going to bounce, guys. Thank you so much for all the support and all of the awesomeness. Love you guys. As always, stay safe, play some games, and I will see you guys next time, either here on YouTube or I will see you on Twitter very soon. Have a great one, guys. Bye. Bye, 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 bye.